Mark Hale for the New York Post here from Post headquarters in Midtown Manhattan as we get set to preview tonight's World Series with Joel Sherman, our outstanding baseball columnist. And we've got the Rangers and St. Louis Cardinals. The game will be at Busch Stadium beginning tonight. And even though there's no New York team in this, there's plenty of intrigue if you're a fan of baseball and if you're a fan of either the Mets or Yankees in particular. And let's bring in Joel to talk about why this series is so compelling. And Joel, it seems like, in your opinion, the first reason that this series is so interesting starts with a guy that won't even be playing any of the games.
Yeah, I think that Tony La Russa has had an interesting arc this postseason. If you think about it, early in his career, he was a genius. Then there was a genius backlash. And now I think he's come full circle here late in his career again, where he's just been a master in this postseason, especially in the NLCS. Understanding quickly how these games were being played, that the starters for both teams were problematic, and that it was going to be a battle of the bullpen, and not getting caught up in how you might manage a game in May or June or July to protect the bullpen for longevity of the season, or to build up a starting pitcher's confidence, ego, keep them on your side. He understood what the games were, and he attacked early. He understood what his bench was fascinating, where he used Alan Craig, a good right-hand hitter against lefty pitching in the series. And so if you like the strategy, if you like the master chess playing level of the game, I think watching Tony La Russa play against what I think most baseball people would agree is a better 25-man roster than he has, to see how he tries to create equality or something better than that over 4 to 7 games, I think is going to be an interesting little chess match.
Absolutely. It'll be riveting to see what La Russa does. And Joel, let's talk a little bit about the off-season, because we'll actually get a little bit of a preview of that in the series. We've got, as you have mentioned, probably the best free agent hitter on one team and probably the best free agent pitcher on the other team.
Yeah, you got Albert Pujols, who probably doesn't need to spiff up his resume anymore. He's Albert Pujols after all. But, you know, he's going to make himself, if the Cardinals are to win a World Series here, he's going to make himself even harder for the Cardinals to part. He's going to be able to ask a big number. He already has turned down 9 years of $200 million. But the person who's more on the grill here is C.J. Wilson, who is probably, I will say this, he's the best North American starting pitcher available. But depending on if you like Yu Darvish, who is likely to be posted this winter, and the reality is, today, if you told me the Texas Rangers will have C.J. Wilson back or Yu Darvish, I would say they're probably going to end up with Darvish, who they seem to like a lot. Them, Toronto, the Yankees, Washington, maybe Seattle, those teams like. There seems to be a feeling around the sport that C.J. Wilson's a lot more a 3-4 starter than a 1-2. There's real questions about his control. And why this is so big this series is this is the third straight series this postseason that he will be the number 1 starter. He's pitching the opener just like he did in the division series in the ALCS. And now 2 years running, he hasn't pitched very well in the postseason. He's given up 10 homers and 40 postseason innings. His ERA is well over 5. He's 1-4. And so he's got 1 or 2 starts here to suggest that that was just a small sample size and that he can handle this kind of form and pitch strongly against a good lineup at the biggest time of year. Right now, it's starting to work against his number in free agency. Can he reverse it in this World Series?
We're talking with Joel Sherman, our superb baseball columnist, as we preview the World Series, Cardinals and Rangers, which starts tonight in St. Louis, where Joel is. And Joel, one last thing for you is, what kind of games can we expect in this series? High scoring, low scoring, a lot of moves, not a lot of moves? What do you think?
Well, if you could get to Vegas and do under over, I would go over. I think we've seen that a style has been established in this postseason, and I think it's the way the games are going to play out. The starting pitching, either because the offenses are too good or because a lot of starters are working on fumes this late in the season, just hasn't been good pretty much anywhere in the postseason. Even tremendous stars, Justin Verlander pitched well, but, pitched to like a over 4 ERA in the postseason. CC Sabathia did not pitch well for the Yankees. This has not been a postseason of aces. So I think America, I'm concerned as somebody who loves baseball. I think the ratings are not going to be specifically high cross country when you have 2 middle America teams, a Texas team and a St. Louis in it. And I think the games are going to be long, Mark. I think there's going to be a lot of offense and a lot of pitching changes. And that's a brew for long games. So, you're going to have to, if you want to watch these games, you're going to have to get into the strategy of it. When do you unleash a bullpen? When do you, if you have a lefty reliever, when do you begin to match up against the better lefty hitters? How early do you bring in your best righty power guy, for example, to go after Albert Pujols? I expect there's going to be a lot of big moments in this series. Alexi Ogando versus Albert Pujols, and so it will be an interesting moment to see when those are used.
All right, it all starts tonight, obviously, with Game 1 in St. Louis, the Cardinals and Rangers. Obviously, great stuff, as always, from Joel on Albert Pujols, on C.J. Wilson, on the games themselves, and on maybe the most interesting part of this World Series, Tony La Russa trying to match up against what should be a better team. You can follow Joel on Twitter at JoelSherman1. Check out his blog, which is called Hardball on nypost.com, and you can read George King, Mike Puma, and Joel, of course, with their World Series coverage the entire time the series lasts. For the New York Post, I'm Mark Hale.